Hi, so welcome to another episode of Yonkers Voice. Today we are here with our sponsor, Dolphin Bar and Grill Restaurant, here in Yonkers, New York, located at 1 Van Der Dock Street. So today I am really excited to sit down and have a conversation with Zachary Thompson of Yonkers, New York. How are you?
How you doing, man?
So today we have Zachary here with us. He is a motivational speaker, a life coach, and a writer. And today we're going to talk about his movement and mission to empower men, women, and children. So Zachary, tell us a little bit about what even inspired the movement that you have going on right now, Fatherless Advocate Movement.
First, I want to say I appreciate everything coming here on today. What inspired me is actually my father inspired me for this movement, because I am a fatherless child that grew up here in Yonkers, New York, and I understand the things that some of these children are going through as being fatherless. So that's kind of what inspired me to help these kids. I don't want to see any of these kids to go through the struggles and the obstacles I had to go through coming up as a fatherless child. So that's really motivates me to reach out and help.
So personal experience. So you yourself, you know what it feels like to grow up without a father.
Absolutely.
And so growing up in Yonkers, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, but I've been in Yonkers for the last 2 years, and I've seen, the impact of it. So what are some of the causes you think, since, coming from Yonkers, have an impact on the rate that's increasing with children being fatherless right now? Because I know you have your hands in a lot of studies actually getting the numbers of what's going on.
Well, you have several causes that can cause fatherlessness. One, I think most importantly, is the family court system. They legally separate fathers from their children, whether it's incarceration or giving a little bit of time of visitation rights. As the system is set up now, a father can be jailed for not paying child support.
Right.
Maybe, and they don't take in consideration sometimes the father can be ill, maybe lost a job in between jobs, or he even have a job and miss the payment and get jailed and then lose a job.
Right. So it's almost like it seems like it's intentional.
Right. They look at the father not as a caregiver, but maybe just a wallet. Like a wallet. He's the ATM machine. He just need to pay child support, and we don't actually care about him in the household or having much time with his child.
Yeah, like, because the presence matters, and not just, like you said, being an ATM.
Right.
So,
and love to kids is time with their father. That's what's love to them.
I can definitely see that. So we know the court system being one of the main causes. Was there anything else that you feel like that you may have experienced growing up in Yonkers that you saw was like an impact of why we had more children growing up without a father? Well,
actually, my father was heavily on drugs.
Okay, so
and that could be a major issue. We have men that's on drugs and incarcerated, and those things can cause fatherlessness. And fatherlessness is not just only the absence of a father out of the household. You can be fatherless with your father actually in the house.
Oh, that's interesting.
He physically can be in the house, but he's emotionally disconnected.
Okay.
Okay.
And so what are some of the causes of that, you think, that cause the emotional disconnection?
Well, society says a good father is the one who goes out and he pays all the bills. He works hard all the time. But that's more of him working outside of the house and really not working inside of the house.
Okay.
And there's a difference. So people will say, oh, he's a great father because he paid the bills, bring home the bacon. That's what society says. But they don't talk about he need to be working inside the house as well. And so he might work 2 or 3 jobs and come home tired. He does the same thing over and over and over. And he's not the type of dad that's knocking on the door to his children and say, hey, let me talk to you for a second.
And that's so important, because then you have society, if they make men feel like, oh yeah, I'm a father if I'm making X amount of money or I'm bringing home this, but they're not taking out the time to have those conversations.
Right.
It's becoming like generational, because if you have mothers and fathers that grow up without a father, and then it's happening in their household and it's going on. So what are some ways that you think, do you see any difference between how it affects like men and women growing up without a father?
Oh, absolutely. We all know that children learn from what they see and hear.
Absolutely.
So if a young man is in his house and he don't see a passionate and loving relationship between his mother and dad because his father's not there, so how would he know how to connect with a woman or even see value in family? So men, what happens with them is they create a new generation of fatherless children, because what happens is they don't see value in family, so they'll just have sex, next relationship, sex, next relationship, hopping from relationship to relationship, and in the meantime having children too.
Yeah.
And them children become fatherless. So it's just a cycle.
That's a huge point, because like not seeing value in family, then when you don't see value in yourself, like as a man,
absolutely,
then you go out and you don't think about the actions and things that you do that then turn you into being in the court system or getting on drugs, which are affecting why we have so much fatherlessness going on. So what are some of the ways that you think the community can help? Well, let's not even talk about that. Like, what are some of the things that you think impact how we value family, or what can we do as a community to help shift that, how we look at that being?
Well, I think the community should strive to improve the children's well-being by strengthening fatherhood, like making them more, looking at fathers as valuable to the family. Also, I think it would be a great idea to try to reduce divorce rates, unwed childbearing, things like that, and also improving the quality and the stability of the institution of marriage. I think that people need to value marriage and family.
That's huge, because that's like, if we have a generation now that is growing and interacting, that's not the goal for them. So, so what do we do in that instance? Because now we're moving to a time where people are growing and the goal for them isn't marriage. And so it might not be family. So how do we still make sure that we can have fatherhood amongst this generation that, you know, they're not really valuing the marriage?
Well, I think if we could bring awareness that is a real problem for children that's fatherless, that we can maybe come up with something, maybe mothers can incorporate fathers more into the kids' activities, you know, things like that. Even if they're not in the household, you know, they can, you know, beckon them to be more involved in their day-to-day operations, maybe, you know, type of things that they do, instead of excluding him.
Are like separating whatever emotional things you have going on to still have him being a father being a priority.
Or calling him when things happen in school, just keeping him involved. And there's a lot of parental conflict that happens, and people need, I think, parents need to somehow find a way to get along for the sake of the child.
To learn how to co-parent,
Right. It's not about them and their problems and their issues and their interests. It's about their child.
Right.
And that's what I think would help out tremendously.
I definitely agree with that. So let's see. So what are some ways that we can help serve your movement? So tell us about what you have going on in terms of what you do on a day-to-day basis to help advocate for fatherlessness, and how we could help support that.
Well, actually, we have opened a chapter in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
We're actually looking at some places here in Yonkers to open a chapter here in Yonkers. You can go to ZacharyThompson.net to get updates on when and where that's going to happen and when. And right now in Charlotte, we are actually talking with social service and things like that, and trying to get social service to figure out some kind of way where they can have some kind of incentives for mothers just getting assistance to actually involve fathers.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be a great help. Because like you said, everything is so money driven now that's what people are going after. They're not even just putting the time that needs to be spent on a pedestal. Right.
They're just giving the money willingly without saying, "Oh well, where's the father? Can y'all work it out?" You know, anything like that. This is a try at it. You know, because there's so much information, abundant information from experts, researchers, doctors, that's understanding there's negative consequences for children growing up without fathers.
So interesting, you grew up without your father, as you shared, due to different circumstances with him, but you found yourself in a position where you can be a father to your children. So what do you think helped you in that shift? Because a lot of times when men grow up without a father, they take that and they lash out, and sometimes they aren't there. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to men who may be in your shoes, who grew up without a father and, they don't have that motivation to still be there for their children?
I believe that when a father leaves his children, he takes their heart with them. So sometimes men don't have that compassion for their children because they didn't get it.
Okay.
And that's another problem. And
so taking the time out to deal with fathers on their own and their own psychological stance would help, because that would help them be able to value family and be able to value that they need to make it a priority to be there regardless of if the mom is calling or not.
Right, and that's what I went through. Mm-hmm. I kind of figured out there was something I needed to work out within myself, because I was going from relationship, mm-hmm. having children with different women, mm-hmm. and things like that. I was part of the problem. So as I look at my studies, I'm a psychology major, mm-hmm. and I found the information on fatherlessness, and ever since that day I was hooked. I was hooked on it. I was hooked on it, and after that, I started seeing information, and I started saying, well, hey, that looks familiar. That's something I'm doing. Mm-hmm. That's some of my behaviors that I'm going through. And as me looking into information, I think it became therapeutic.
And I think it's very important that you're transparent about it, because mm-hmm. I think a lot of times men and women go through these experiences and they don't talk about it because they may think of it as a sign of weakness, or they don't really think somebody's going to react. But because you're sharing that you went through that and you were able to rebuild through that, there's another man out there who felt the same way, and he can connect, and maybe you're inspiring them to take the next move.
Well, I want to make getting help fun. And I don't want it to be the stigma that we have in the community. It's a double-edged sword. Okay, first of all, you have to deal with the results.
When you say, you said the stigma that we have in the community. Do you think we have a stigma within a certain community more so when we're talking about mental health? Are we talking about Yonkers community?
I'm talking about beyond. Maybe people look at, if I go get help, maybe he's crazy.
Do you think that's more pertinent? Is it between demographic, environment, cultures, or you just think regardless of where you fall, there's a stigma on mental health and getting help?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. I do feel that no matter what color you are or what demographic you're in, that it seems if you're going to get help, people look at you, maybe he's crazy or something's wrong with him.
I always say, I think you're crazy if you think you can make it through life without help, because we all need therapy. We all need help at some point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then they have to deal with the decisions that they have made from the dysfunctions and the disorders that they developed. So they have to live with those things too. And on top of that, the stigma of, oh, I can't go get some help because they're going to think I'm crazy.
Right.
And then they go untreated. And then that's when the cycle goes on and on and on and on.
So we talked about some of the impacts being the family court system and the drug system. So in fact, if we focus on helping people learn how to turn their pain into power, as something we're going to touch about that you can share with us, and how to address their psychological issues, that will then help affect the court systems and the drug systems that were affecting fatherlessness in the beginning.
Right.
So it's like everything just comes full circle, and it just helps to get better numbers and get more fathers in the homes.
Well, there's plenty of fathers movements that's really beckoning the courts right now. Mm-hmm. They're trying to change and reform the court system, which really needs to be changed.
That's good that people hear about, because a lot of times people only talk about the problem, and they don't talk about the solution because they aren't aware of the movements that are going on that are building solutions.
Right.
So tell us again where we can go if we want to be a part of the movements, or if we want to know about where we can go at for the fathers who are fighting to get things changed in the court systems.
Well, actually, there's information on my website, ZacharyThompson.net, for more information. You can call my team at 860-421-3439, and my email is fatherlessadvocate@gmail.com.
So I'm excited to check that out, because this is something that I'm personally passionate about, so I hope everybody is taking note and they're going to check that out. So you do have a surprise that's coming up for us pretty soon that we just touched on. We talked about how people can turn pain into power. So you are going to be sharing your perspective on that in a book soon.
Yes,
right?
my book will be released this year, August,
okay.
2017. I don't have an exact date, and I'm very excited about it. What I want this book to do is, I want people to feel comfortable in their own home and have the information in the palm of their hands, where they actually can, maybe it might not be the solution, but it's a start, point them in the right direction. Say, okay, this is what I might be going through, and I'm hoping through my story, people can identify some of their behaviors and say, wait, you know what, I do the same thing, I act the same way.
Well, it sounds like it could be like a family book. Like you could sit down and work through things together, because you might be able to notice your behaviors together and make getting help fun again, like
Absolutely.
You said, which is what your mission is.
And actually, I have a kids book that goes with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Bruised Blue.
So it's going to be like it comes together, or
you can buy it separately, but it comes together where you actually can sit down with your child, and it's going to be a 7-series book, and the first series is going to be on coping. So you actually can sit down with your child and actually teach them some things, some coping skills at a young age.
Bruised Blue. So who is the parent who should get that? Like, what child is that perfect for? Or is that more for the parent, the Bruised Blue?
Bruised Blue, the small book is for the parent to read to the child.
Okay.
Or the child. It's actually a character that the child can grow up with.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's going to be like, it'll help create memories, and it'll help create the shifts
It's
within
actually
the home.
a kid's book.
I'm excited
Absolutely.
about that.
Yes.
I can't wait. So what else should we know? What else should we know about Zachary Thompson and this movement and everything that you're doing in Yonkers and in Charlotte and beyond?
Well, I want to let people understand that I'm going to stay on message. You know, we hear follow this thing sometime, program here, but we don't have that person that you can actually stay on message and really hammering it out and really getting some solutions and some strategies to help people out in this situation.
Beyond just talking about the problem.
We're just talking about right, because I see a lot, everybody talk about what's happening, and that's really not the problem. What the problem is, what's causing it to happen.
Exactly.
Is the problem.
Need to look at the cause.
We need to look at the cause of why these things is happening, like crime, homelessness, teen pregnancy. We need to find out why this is happening, and you can look of the root cause of these things, and it will root to they have no fathers in the home, no structure, and some people might have fathers in the house, or might contact with their father, but then some fathers are not intellectually capable of having a quality conversation with their child.
And everybody like being aware of that is what's going to definitely help create the shift. Because as with anything, any problems, there's a lot of people just pointing the fingers and saying, oh, these fathers are bad fathers and they're not there, but nobody's looking at what's being planted in the environments and what's impacting it, like the things that we talked about. So now we can work through it together as a community.
Right.
Instead of just pointing fingers.
And I think the solution would be strengthening marriage and understanding that marriage is valuable. That marriage and staying together as a family is going to be the key to turn things around. And understanding, reducing unwed childbearing, having kids out of wedlock, things like that, reducing divorce rate, maybe extending divorce procedures if it's contested, see if they can work it out, and things of that nature.
Putting the value back on family,
right,
which is where we started.
And if you actually, in my ways around in my community and people houses I go through, you know what? I never see a family portrait. when my grandmother was around, we always had a family portrait.
Like on the
But it's-
mantle hanging up.
Right, so when you walk in, you see a family portrait. It's about family. Now we don't see that no more in people's houses. I mean,
with the things that we have influencing the people who are parents now are just not much around family. So I'm excited that we've had this time to talk to you today, and I hope we've got to touch somebody and inspire somebody to get in touch with how you can help the community and how we can bring family back to value. So thank you for your time today.
and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.